Five Rings Canes is brought to you by our good friends at You Break Wheel Fix. You Break Wheel Fix is a wheel repair and refinishing company located in North Miami with 15 years of experience. You can fix bent or cracked wheels damaged on the streets of South Florida. It's happened to all of us, guys. Fast turnaround times on most repairs, and we even offer loaner wheels while we fix or refinish your wheels so you can keep your car on the road without interruption. I love that. You don't have to worry about, maybe my car is in the shop for a couple days. You don't have to worry about that with You Break. Are your wheels faded or peeling? You Break Wheel Fix offers complete refinishing back to factory standards, and they do such a great job, guys. And how about this? If you're bored with the look of your wheels, if you drive a lot like I do, it's nice to mix it up. You Break Wheel Fix offers over 5,000 different finishes to customize the look of your wheels. Don't spend money on new wheels when you can renew them at You Break Wheel Fix. And Blue, we talk about it, how you can trick your wheels out. You and I, we're getting the Hurricanes colors, the orange and green wheels. We've seen it's gone viral. You Break Wheel Fix has tweeted out photos of Dolphins colored wheels, white hot Miami Heat wheels. If you want to rep your South Florida teams, the ones that we cover and we love in style, You Break has your hookup.
Yeah, no doubt. And I miss these guys. Last couple of weeks, we hadn't had a chance to talk about them, but now you have the Dolphins playing a couple of games already. The Hurricanes, the Heat, right in the midst of hopefully winning this entire thing and at least getting to the NBA championships this year. So this is the best time, to trick your car out. I mean, because now everybody's paying attention. You don't want to do it in the off season. Well, oh yeah, they had a great season. They're having a great season, and that's what I would do. And obviously, we're looking forward to the Canes. And as the momentum builds, and they go to 3-0, and then they get that showdown, maybe during the week off after this Florida State game would be the perfect time to get it done, because heading into the Clemson game, everybody's going to be thinking about the Hurricanes.
Absolutely. And also, don't sleep on some pink and black wheels for Inter Miami. Those look really fresh. That's as right. Well.
They've got a couple of W's going, too.
They certainly do. You Break Wheel Fix offers a full line of custom wheels and tires for every vehicle application, and we offer in-house repair and complete vehicle customization. So call You Break Wheel Fix today at 305-748-0112 or visit them online at youbreakwheelfix.com. We are a very social organization. They can be found at You Break Wheel Fix on Google, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Yelp. And they really are a good follow on social media. We love these guys. Clever pun, great organization. You Break Wheel Fix. And if you mention 5 Reasons Sports when you call, you receive $10 off your repair. How about that? We're also brought to you by Biscayne Bay Brewing. That is the official craft beer of Inter Miami and the Miami Marlins. It is South Florida's actual independent brewery. Biscayne Bay is owned by local guys who employ people in this community to make their beer right here in South Florida. And these guys are committed to our community, and they're committed to supporting 5 Reasons Sports so we can help bringing you all the local sports content that you can handle. If you're about supporting local business and drinking amazing beer, and it really is good, you can grab their stuff. I mean, Blue, so many options from the Marlins Lager, Miami Pale Ale, Tropical Bay IPA, and so much more. I love that Miami Pale Ale. I've always got a couple on the couch with me when I'm watching sports. You can get all those at major retailers, all major retailers throughout South Florida. And Blue, like we always say, if you want to celebrate a victory or drown your sorrows after a tough loss, Biscayne Bay Brewing is there for you.
Yeah, no doubt. Tropical Bay Pale Ale was the choice during the game the other night, Louisville game. Sat down, nice sandwich. Everything was going great. Tremendous game. Nice drink. I mean, I go overboard. They're great people too. And then, they keep in contact. They love this podcast. They listen all the time. They're great fans of ours. And I do like that. So anytime that we have a chance to promote them in any way and tell people who've never had it before, this is the way to do it. I do it even when we're not on there. I'll get on Twitter and I'll tweet them and tell them. They had something with Tyler Hero the other day talking about, one more year, he'll be 21, so he'll be a legal consumer of some great beverages. And I told him, listen, send him a couple of trucks full because he's going to love them, unwind after a couple of games. And hasn't Tyler Harrell been just such a huge surprise? 2 years out of high school. That's the craziest thing in the world. And this is a great beverage. Like I said, a lot of people like yourself, you'll sit down with a couple and, watching the game. With me, I love it with some great food, and certainly they have great food.
Certainly, and so much so that it is the only beer we drink here at Five Reasons Sports, Biscayne Bay Brewing. Hello and welcome into another episode of Five Rings Canes on the Five Reasons Sports Network. We all have reason to smile on this episode. Miami has improved to 2-0. Thanks to a 47-34 victory, technically an upset win on the road at Louisville this past weekend. So the Hurricanes actually improved from number 17 to number 12. And it's Florida State week, boys. Miami set to host FSU, another primetime game this coming Saturday. Alex Donno alongside Larry Blustein. As always, Blue, how are you?
Doing good. A W is always satisfying. I don't care how you get it, especially how things ended last year. So you get a win on the road. I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, you have this FSU week, and I've been around these things forever. And the only thing I can tell Hurricane fans is nothing is for sure. Because I remember when Miami and Florida State met, when Florida State was number one in the nation, and they were a 20-point favorite in the Orange Bowl. Miami beat them 31-0. So wow. Anything could happen in these things, and they often do.
And I hear you. In fact, before we started, I was thinking about it. I've been placing a lot of wagers yesterday with my bookie, who's been a great sponsor of the pod, and last I saw, Miami is a double-digit favorite in this game, and that feels like a trap to me, right? And certainly I'm never going to put money on Florida State, especially not this Florida State team. But, still, though, in a rivalry game, when I see Miami a double-digit favorite, that's when I say, you know what? I think I'm just going to sit this one out, kick my feet up, and enjoy the game. So I certainly hear you on that. Let's welcome in our special guest for this episode. Does a fantastic job covering the Canes on Five Reasons Sports, and also contributes to the great Sixth Ring show. And by the way, the guys, Jazz and company, do an excellent job on that on Tuesday night, streaming live at Five Reasons Sports. But we welcome in our good friend, Paul Austria. Paul, another W in the books, a number 12 ranking. How you feeling, sir?
Hey, winning solves everything. Winning cures everything. Can't ask for anything more than being undefeated and going into FSU week. So pretty happy right now. Pretty excited.
We've got ourselves an offense. Thank you, Rhett Lashley. We have ourselves a quarterback. Thank you, De'Ara King. We have ourselves a kicker. Thank you, Jose Borregales, who was unbelievable. 57-yarder, hit 4 field goals in the game. Let me start, though, guys, on De'Ara King. 18 for 30, 325 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, has really done a nice job taking care of the football. 2 games and really nothing close to an interception so far. I'm very thankful for that. But really, in week 1 against UAB, it was primarily the showcase for De'Ara King's legs, and we saw what he can do scrambling. And then in week 2, I thought it was really the showcase for De'Ara King's arm in this game. I especially, guys, and Paul, I'll start with you. I look at that throw that he made to Will Mallory for that touchdown when he did a nice job targeting the back shoulder instead of the front shoulder, which would have put the football at risk for the interception. I mean, we're seeing now really advanced stuff here from De'Ara King, who's, of course, getting rid of the football very quickly. Miami's tempo under Rhett Lashley looks fantastic. But, man, that throw, and what a game from De'Ara King.
Not even just that throw, but there's also the throw across his body.
Yes.
I think he was rolling out left to, I think it was Harley that caught that.
Yeah, it was.
That throw made me go like, whoa. Like, I think I still kind of, after the first game against UAB, I was kind of suspicious about his throwing ability because there were a lot of, there is that dinky dink throw that he should have made to, I think it was Jeremiah Payton in the end zone. Then I was like, whoa, that's a pitch and catch throw. But, I mean, Louisville was throwing a lot of cover 0 at him. They really I think he only finished with 9 rushing yards against Louisville, but they really wanted to see if this man can throw. And man, did he show up to the occasion? I think the numbers say 18 for 30, but I think we were talking about it last night on the Sixth Ring, where I think there were about 6 drops by Miami receivers. So that 18 of 30 could have easily been 24 for 30.
Yeah.
And that would, I mean, 80% completion percentage, which honestly I'll take any day. I mean, I don't think any quarterback has put as high a completion percentage as that in the past few years. And overall, I think he spread it around. He definitely got his tight ends more involved than against UAB. I mean, Mallory, we only know that one Mallory catch for a touchdown, but there is that 175-yard touchdown that was called back because of a holding penalty. So I think he could have been well over 100 yards easily. And it's just nice to see that we saw more of a running attack in the first game, but they kind of went to the pass more often, especially to the tight ends. And I think I'll also throw in Mark Pope, who I think he had like 3 drops. One of them was an easy pitch and catch. I was really surprised, but he could have been well over 100 yards. And to just see that, okay, we definitely have a QB that can adjust to what the defense is giving him. It's not just a pocket passer. Like, he's very smart. I think Red Lashley even alluded to it, that King sometimes does hold onto the ball a little too long. I think he's pretty much kind of holding him responsible for the 3 sacks that he's suffered versus compared to the own line allowing them. So it's nice to see that. I'm really excited to see how King gets even better throughout the season. We're only in we're heading into game 3, so I feel like King definitely, man, it's now why he was a Heisman candidate 2 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, and it's amazing as Blue, as we think about how Miami got this one right in the transfer portal. A certain previous transfer portal guy, never really earned his spot and has opted out. I'm talking about Tate Martell. So that was one year, and then the next year, you go out and get De'Ara King, who was a proven guy at Houston, very sought after in the transfer portal, and you can see the difference that makes with Miami's offense. I know that part of the skepticism, Blue, that people had heading into Miami's season, like, for example, the media that covers the ACC picked Miami to finish 6th in the conference this year, which I'm a homer, of course, but I thought that was a little bit disrespectful. Then people said, well, Donno, it was coming off a 6-7 season, and Manny Diaz hasn't proven anything, so you can't expect them to give Miami more respect. But the reason why I was giving Miami more respect even before the season started was, if you have a quarterback, what a difference it makes. And if you have a kicker, what a difference it makes. I mean, Bubba Baxa and that cast of characters cost Miami probably 3 wins last year. And now we've got a guy who's hitting a 57-yarder that could have been a 70-yarder with no problem had he been that far away. So what a difference it's making. But specifically, Blue, on De'Ara King, I thought Paul broke it down so well, some of the big throws that he made. Your impressions from De'Ara King, even the improvements we saw from week 1 to week 2.
The ability to open up the playbook with Lashley a little bit more than they did in the first week. And Paul and I sat at the first game against UAB and were wondering where the tight ends were. And certainly we got that answered in this game because, like I said, if you want to use Brevin Jordan basically anytime you want, he could beat anybody that covers him. I mean, he's just and if not, he's going to get a pass interference against him. They'll be draped all over him. He's just and we saw Will Mallory, who looks like Gronk. I mean, the guy's huge. He can run. He's, I mean, all you're thinking is, well, he's even in the play that was called back. You're saying this kid's a play on Sunday guy. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, he's a big time type of kid, and I'm not going to be so nice with the wide receivers. I maintain this all off season. They don't have a wide receiver that's a reliable go-to guy. Right. Mark Pope he's a guy that's been around that system long enough that he needs to be a leader, and he's not. He drops too many passes that may not have hurt him in this game, but it's going to hurt down the line. It could hurt this week. It will definitely hurt against Clemson. You cannot do that. Harley the same way. I want to praise where we praise, but you also have to look, and we won't even get into the 500-yard defensive effort that they had. I mean, Louisville's a good team, but it's a shadow of a national championship quality football team. But from King's standpoint, there's nothing else to say. He's a bona fide superstar. He's going to do as much as he can. But when he does break containment and he does use his wheels to spot open receivers, catch the damn thing. The guy's done what he could do to make it possible to extend the play and, get open and hold that ball. And that's what I'm saying. That's the only criticism that I have on the offensive side. I thought the offensive line blocked a whole lot better again.
So much credit to them.
Yeah, and there were, there was a couple of Louisville breakdowns on the run by Cam outside and the pass to our freshman,
Rooster,
to Rooster, Jalen Knighton. But I thought that Miami did extremely well. They stuck to the game plan, and I'm extremely pleased at the playmakers that they have. I think the running game is just outstanding. And I think it shows that the offensive line, you got to remember, we're still young on that offensive line. So, other than, Gaynor, everybody else is just a first or second year guy. So we're excited. We're excited heading into this week. And I cannot say enough about what De'Ara King did. And we knew it, and you knew it from the offseason by watching what he did at Houston. But until you saw it happen in orange, green, and white, now he's officially accepted. And what can I say about Borregales? We knew that was coming. The kid's a beast. And, they could have won 4 games. And they alluded to it on the national television broadcast the other night. And Miami could have won 4 games last year. And imagine how things would have turned around if they would have won 4 more games last year. So I think everything's in good hands, and certainly this is FSU week. No matter how you slice it, whether somebody's 10-0 or 0-10, it's still FSU week.
Real quick, before we get to Miami's defense and before we talk a little Florida State, I just want to give some props to the running backs and to the offensive line for that matter. I mean, Blue, you brought it up that Cameron Harris, a 75-yard touchdown run. And I will remind people that some have doubted his next level speed. So I think he's proving some people wrong in that aspect. I mean, a lot of this was done on the 75-yarder, but he finished with 9 carries for 134 yards, 14.9 yards per carry, scored that touchdown. Outside of that, not a whole lot to say about the running game, but you did have that huge reception by a running back, and that was the Jalen Knighton play, the catch for 75 yards, which was a really well-drawn-up play by Rhett Lashley. There was a huge breakdown by Louisville on that play. But, I mean, if you look at those contributions from Miami's running backs, where Miami's first 2 drives, Paul, of the third quarter were each one play. You had the 75-yard run by Cam Harris, the 75-yard catch by Jalen Knighton. I'm not expecting to see, 2 plays like that happen every single game, but it really goes to show, not only what Miami can do with the motion and the scheming by Rhett Lashley, but what the Canes can do when you have players like that in your backfield that can take it to the next level with all that speed.
Oh, for sure. I think Cam Harris hit 23 miles per hour. I think he topped out 20 miles per hour during that run.
Yeah, he did. I saw it was over 20. I think 23 sounds right. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, it goes to show you, especially and just looking at how that was set up. I think it looked like a bubble screen to Mike Harley. It was a pre-snap motion to Mike for Harley, and I think one of the DBs just followed Harley, but they just forgot to account for Harris. And even on the Knighton play, same thing happened too, where just they completely left Knighton wide open, and look what happened. And it was just really weird watching that, because you're thinking, wow, that's definitely efficiency at its finest. 2 plays, 2 touchdowns. But I was thinking about I think one analyst brought up that the defense is probably gassed because they probably just found a way to get off the field, and now they got to get back on it.
Yeah.
And but overall the running game, I think for Miami, if there was one downside to the Louisville game, it was probably the running game. Outside of that 75-yard run by Harris, I think then it'd be just 29 carries for about 85 yards, which is kind of under, I think, like 2.8, 2.9 yards a carry. Luckily, King was able to have a great game throwing the ball, and just the overall, like, it kind of just felt like Miami never really was out of control in this game. Like, it kind of felt like they were in control, like even with, Louisville piling up over 500 yards of offense. Most of their damage was done in the second half. So I think it's definitely different than the first game, obviously. So, but I mean, I agree. I mean, outside of the 75-yard as well, Harris had it'd be 8 carries for 59 yards, which is a solid average.
Right.
So I kind of think that overall, Lashley would just kind of adjust to whatever the defense is giving him. It's kind of like against UAB. The reason they pounded the ball so much is because that's what UAB was giving them. And we can't blame Lashley for not wanting to throw the ball as much when they couldn't stop the run. Miami piled up 337 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling really confident about Lashley's approach. Definitely a lot more confident than the last guy we had, who I felt like there was much hype surrounding Danny Enos's hiring, but then I always thought there were no stats to really back up the hype. Just the progression of Tua and Jalen Hurts as quarterbacks. So, I think with Lashley, at least, he had the 7th best offense in the nation last season at SMU. And, I think it's just only a matter of time before, overall, it's just reassuring that, in the past few years, Miami's relied on their defense to keep them in games now. But when the defense does have games like this where they allow 500 yards, it's like a silent 500 yards of offense to me. The offense can kind of hold their weight or pull their weight and even win games for them, and that even ties in with, you guys brought it up, Jose Borregales, who hit 4 field goals, 5, like the man had 17 points by himself. 17 points by himself,
Wow.
And it's funny you brought up the whole thing about them saying that Miami could have won 4 games last season if kicking game was approved. Like, yeah, like I've been bringing that up as well all the time too. Like, we wouldn't be here, I guess, sulking over the fact that they were 6 and 7 last year if they probably had I think it was 5 games I counted that were decided by 7 points or less. So just to have a solid, reliable kicker, like you guys watched that 57-yarder by Borregales, like it was like I remember, like, normally you'd think that, okay, this might have a chance. We don't really know for sure, but man, that guy that was a 65-yarder. He probably could have made that.
He's going to be kicking on Sundays, that kid, and I don't say that I don't say that lightly, because it's really hard to get a kicking spot in the NFL because there are literally only 32 spots. There's no backup kickers, and kickers can kick sometimes till they're 40. So it's really hard to get an NFL roster spot as a kicker, but Jose Borregales is going to get one. I mean, the accuracy is there, the leg is there. He is the total package, guys.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the most important, well, not the most, but one of the huge things is last year on field position on kickoffs. He's put everyone but one into the end zone so far this year, and that's huge. You much rather have your opponent starting inside the 30 rather than inside the 50. And last year, if you remember, a lot of the returns that they had on him. So that's another facet that he brings to the game that, may go unnoticed by the average person, but huge field position wise. And especially against a team like Louisville, with a kid like Hawkins, who's a Floridian. I hate to bring it up. I mean, that kid, a smaller type of guy, but very effective. He's not going to be anything like at the end will be, but certainly just a precursor for being able to stop the run.
Well, Blue, I want your take real quick on the defense, and then I want to move on with everybody on Florida State. You mentioned Floridians. Another one, Tutu Atwell, had a big game, as we kind of expected, against Miami. But, if you told me pregame that if you just gave me the stat line and not the score, and you said, hey, Tutu Atwell is going to get 114 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, I'd be a little bit nervous as to whether or not Miami even wins the game. So, Blue, your take on Miami's defensive effort, gave up a ton of yards, 500 yards. And Paul pointed this out, that maybe part of the problem was in the second half that Miami started off with a pair of one-play drives. So you're putting a gas defense right back on the field. How much do you think that had to do with the fact that Miami did get gashed?
I'd say a little bit, but I still think there's a lot of deficiencies. You remember you lost 3 quality linebackers, 2 for sure that played in the rotation last year. So that's important. I think up front your push is, as far as getting to the passer, is a whole lot better this year, but that leaves the middle a little bit more vulnerable. The only thing that needs to be done is you got to stop the run. I don't care who it is, and I don't care when it is. You have to stop the run, and they couldn't. They really couldn't stop the run consistently the other night. Louisville did basically. I watched and I charted a lot of the plays, and if it wasn't for a few drops on their part, they were in pretty good position too. So they got to. Even if it's FSU, I don't care who it is. Anybody, you cannot allow them to just run at will, and they've got receivers that get open. UAB had those 2 guys that got open. So I think you got to tighten up a little bit on defense. And I think our secondary play has been okay. It was average to terrible in the first game. They were picking on Ivy a little bit. It got tightened up a little bit, but your opponent's going to from now on, it's never going to be a lesser opponent. No matter if it's NC State or whoever it is, it's always going to be a greater opponent. So you're going to have to keep that in perspective and understand that every time somebody starts running the ball on you, you got to. You're not going to stop everybody every single time, Alex, but you're going to have to come up with some key stops, and go put them in 3rd and long, and that's why you have those defensive ends who I can't say enough about what Miami's ends are. They're just amazing. But interior wise, and those linebackers still young. Brooks still young. All these guys are still young. And although McLeod had a real nice game, I thought, but you expect him to. He's like a 6-year senior, isn't he? So
he's been around since the 80s.
Yeah. So he would expect him to. But that's, I'm not being highly critical, but I'm being somewhat critical because those, if it wasn't for the Eric King and the big plays that the offense made, that Miami, I think the defense would have been a lot more glaring, to the average person.
5 Rings Canes is brought to you by our good friends at MyBookie. Winning season has returned at MyBookie. Winning season means doubling your first deposit. Winning season means insane props, epic bonuses, and the craziest cross-sport wagers. At MyBookie, winning season means watching live sports and betting live. Sports all season long. Rejoice. The NFL has returned, and I'm doing pretty well on my NFL bets, I got to tell you. That means action-packed Sundays and huge cash prizes. Get in on the action. Blue, we have our own promo code for people who want to sign up at MyBookie. In fact, I did so a few weeks ago. The promo code worked great, doubled my initial deposit with the awesome free play. So you can double your first deposit. New players can get up to $1,000 in free play designed to add more excitement to the sports you love and the games you bet. So our code is 5 Rings, and that's spelled out FIVERINGS, 5 Rings for 5 Rings Canes. You enter that promo code at checkout. Whatever you deposit, $200, $400, $1,000, up to $1,000, they will double your initial deposit with that awesome free play money. It's so great, Blue, and I've been doing pretty well the last couple weeks, I got to tell you.
I've been watching you. You every time you come on, you're telling me, "Hey, I got this game, I got that game," and before I start going, I'm going to use you as that proverbial guinea pig, and I'm going to watch how you doing. I'll tell you what, you're doing darn good. And
I was 5-0 last weekend, Blue.
Oh man,
Just on, I think that was just on Saturday alone. Actually, I was 5-0. I had the Canes over Louisville. They were a 3-point underdog.
Oh, nice.
They won the game outright, no problem. I had 3 UFC fights. I won all those. And I had, what else did I have? Oh, Sunday, I had one of the NFL games. And those were the only games I bet last weekend, and I went 5-0. So it was a beautiful thing. And I thought about Monday Night Football. I was thinking of the Saints, and I'm glad I backed off of that because the Saints ended up losing. I will be your guru, Blue, if you want me to. So
yeah, and you are. I'm impressed.
You can bet with the best this NFL season for your chance to win big. So when you sign up at mybookie.com, use our promo code 5rings and double your first deposit. Your winning season begins today only at MyBookie. So when it's all said and done, it was a 47-34 Miami victory, now ranked number 12. We move on to another primetime game. It is Florida State week, Saturday night, 7:30 at Hard Rock Stadium in front of 13,000 fans, 7:30 p.m. on ABC. Paul, I'll start with you on this. Florida State, they have their issues both from a cultural standpoint and a football standpoint. Preseason, you had all this, and who knows how much of this was real and how much of this was blown up. But all those accusations about them, Norvell and company not keeping like a tight enough, safe environment with the COVID-19 concerns. Some of that was squashed, but then we fast forward to game week, and Mike Norvell will not be on the sidelines this weekend because he tested positive for COVID-19. So he'll be quarantined. He'll probably be, texting in plays or whatever. They may be better off with him just sitting at home watching the game. I don't even know if they want Norvell interfering too much, but he's not even going to be a part of this coming weekend. Football-wise, we see the struggles. They lost a tough one to Georgia Tech to open their season. They were off in week 2. We see the struggle still with the offensive line. We see the struggles with James Blackman. On paper, this looks like a blowout in favor of Miami, but I emphasize the words on paper, Paul, because we've seen over the years in this rivalry that, when you think one side is going to get an easy W, it doesn't usually work out that way. Paul, how do you see this playing out? It seems that Miami should have more than enough defensively despite the recent struggles and should have enough firepower to score points at home. But are you expecting a tighter game than the odds or the logic would indicate here?
I'm expecting this to be okay. Well, first off, you're right. I think at the end of the day, you could go off stats, but it's Miami FSU. There's been, I think the past 4 or 5 years, no, excluding last year. Last year was the 27-10 win, but the 2 or 3 years before that, I think they were all decided by 1 touchdown or less. So you really don't know what to expect sometimes, but I feel like the FSU team is slacking. Because I think I saw a tweet early this morning that mentioned that Florida State put up about 300 yards of offense against Georgia Tech in their home opener. But UCF comes and plays Georgia Tech, and they put up almost 700 yards of offense on the Georgia Tech defense. So I guess you can it is the first game of the season, but that's not a good look. But at the end of the day, Florida State still has some playmakers. You got to account for guys like Tamorrion Terry, Jordan Travis. I still have my suspects about James Blackman. I feel like he hasn't really taken any big strides. I do think that Miami's defensive line, especially Will Feast, you guys watched last year where they could not stop Gregory Rousseau at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had I forgot his exact stats. I think he had at least 2 or 3 sacks in that game by himself. And I think Miami just seems more well equipped right now. Like, they have a lot of momentum going. I'm sure Florida State still has guys like Amari Gainer. I think Marvin Wilson is still on that D line. So you got to account for Wilson's probably one of the best defensive linemen in the country, first of all. But I don't think I can see Miami having that many problems. Maybe you just kind of hope that they're not taking this as you're not taking them lightly just because they know that there's so much turmoil going on within the program. But I think Miami wins it at least by 17 points. I really can't. I have the utmost confidence in Miami right now, especially with 2 of their main problems at quarterback and kicker being solved this year.
Right.
I have the utmost confidence right now in Miami.
What do you think, Blue? Do you share that confidence, or are you a little bit? And let me say that everything Paul said makes perfect sense to me. I'm just a little bit shook by the idea that the rivalry game just defies logic. So are you what camp do you fall in, Blue?
I've been to too many of these things, and I see where Paul's coming from, and I agree in a lot of the aspects that he said. If it is a 17-point margin, it'll be like a 3 to 10-point margin going into the fourth quarter, and then they may add that, and pull. I just don't think it's going to be a straight out blowout. You gotta remember that FSU still has guys in the secondary. Still have Asante Samuel, who's a very active guy. He doesn't give in a lot. They still have kids, I mean, and I was looking at their roster yesterday and seeing some of the talent. Yeah, they're young in a lot of respects, but FSU and Miami is just, I look at the Florida State matchup, same thing. Like you said, Amari Gaynor is easily one of the top linebacking prospects around. I mean, you've got kids, and on the surface, if we played games on paper, Miami's an overwhelming favorite. But I just think that the fact that FSU always has athletes, and anytime you have athletes, and Miami's prone to making mistakes. And until Miami gets that receiver guy, I mean, no matter who it is, I still have to, because, FSU's smart enough where they're going to they're going to pretty much try to take away the tight ends and force you to go to your weaknesses receivers. They know your tight ends are going to be your strength. So that's how they'll game plan. And we'll see how Miami adjusts. This is going to be, I think, one of the toughest games for Lashley, because you've got more athletes on Florida State than you have on a lot of teams. They're not experienced and they haven't been around, but let's not fool ourselves. They come out of the same pool that Miami does when they're recruiting. They have a lot of the kids from Central and South Florida on their roster. They get an opportunity that Miami doesn't usually get, and to go into South Georgia, and because although Miami has struck gold, and that was mainly because of Mark Richt getting a few guys, but they have that capabilities. They have the Alabama ties because they're so close, and you see that they always have those kids. They always have those kids. So are they experienced? I mean, if you you remember across the front line, you still have Dante Lucas, who's a Miami kid. You have the kid Smith out of Miami Central. So, yeah, when I looked down the roster and saw a lot of those kids, Dennis Briggs, kid out of Kissimmee that Miami was definitely on. On the surface, you say to yourself, well, FSU lost to Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech got crushed by UCF. Matchups are key. And when these kids, and they all played against each other, some of them against and with each other since they were 10 and 11 years old. So there's no fear factor. You see, whenever you play a Florida State or a Miami, sometimes half the battle for the opponent is the fear of, wow, they're athletic and they're big and they're fast and they're rated. So I think one of these games, and FSU's got nothing to lose. They're supposed to lose this game. Everybody like us have been saying that the whole week, and that's the thing that bothers me the most, because that may put them in a situation where they're going to come in loose. Miami may be a little bit tighter because they got a week off, and then they got undoubtedly their biggest game in a couple of years against Clemson. So, I just think that you're always leery in this game. And like Paul said, I mean, on the surface, they should win this thing going away, but the surface is kind of bumpy here.
Well, can you give me a predicted score, Blue? And I'll get one from Paul as well. I'll give mine. How do you think when it's all said and done, what's the score, and does Miami win?
Miami wins at 24-17.
Wow, you're so close to what I was going to go with.
23-18?
No, I was going to say 24-16.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to find a compromise, and it doesn't feel right to me, because I think Miami's going to score more than that. But like you said, just the rivalry thing, maybe Miami makes a couple of mistakes, maybe they look a little bit tight. Because 24-16 for me, that's the compromise between. I certainly don't think this is going to come down to a final field goal, as this rivalry has so many times in the past. And I also don't think Miami just steamrolls Florida State. So, and I don't think they're going to cover the 10.5 point spread, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So my compromise between those two things would be an 8-point victory where you don't cover, but you also don't sweat too much on the final couple of drives. What do you think, Paul? You said Miami by 17. Do you have a predicted score?
I do. I think Miami does cover the spread. It's definitely not gonna be a shootout like the Louisville game, but I'm thinking it's 27-10. So they're definitely gonna get a couple field goals out of Borregales. I mean, FSU does have athletes. They do. Especially, I mean, they have some on offense, but I feel like Miami still definitely has something to prove to people, and it's another primetime game. Um, I think they keep Florida State's playmakers in check. Defense gets the job done, and yeah, I'm sticking to 27-10.
Well said, and huge thanks again to Paul Austria for joining us, and make sure you
Yep.
check him out and the other guys on the Sixth Rings Kane show. So you guys had one on Monday. Paul, do you guys usually target like Tuesdays, Mondays, early in the week? When can we usually see the Sixth Ring?
So our plan was to have one post game, but with the heat happening this past Saturday, that was definitely not happening. We kind of aim for Monday and Tuesday in the beginning of the week, and then we'll always do one the day before game. So Friday usually. You expect Monday or Tuesday and Friday. Friday we're planning to preview the FSU game, kind of go into detail and analytics about it, and you'll have our predictions for that game as well. So be sure to tune in at 7:30.
Good
Tremendous.
stuff.
And on the way out here, a huge congratulations to 3 Miami players who earned ACC weekly honors. Jose Borregales at kicker, De'Ara King at quarterback, Bubba Bolden at safety, who had a nice game. They all received honors as the best players at their position last week in the Atlantic Coast Conference. So congratulations to those guys.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it is Florida State week. We hope everyone's feeling confident and ready, not too confident. But we will talk to you guys next time to review a big Canes victory right here on Five Rings Canes on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.